I really regret this. He found used protection in the bin and has prepared a plan to ruin my life. Hi everyone, I'm in need of help and wondering if there's any way I'll get good advice here. I cheated on my husband and now he has found used protection in the bin of our house. I fear that he's going to do something that's going to ruin my life. I've had an affair with a very demanding boyfriend who has always found an opportunity to stay in my house. Whenever my husband isn't around, I've finally realized that his tactics and my bad obsession with him have landed me in very deep trouble. I'm really scared because I don't know what the outcome of my actions will be. It's not something I'm proud of, but at the same time it's not something I'm ashamed of. Let me just say there's a fire on the mountain and I'm praying that this fire runs out as soon as possible. I just know it because my husband has never been one to he believes in the law of karma, and whenever he notices that karma plans on delaying, he takes matters into his own hands. I've been married to my husband for 5 years and I know exactly what he's capable of. He saw the used protection, even though he hasn't brought it up. He just saw it and left the house. He hasn't said a word to me until then, but I just know that he's holding a big grudge. He saw the protection in the bin when he was at home, and I know it because I saw it and then he took it. How do I know? Well, that's because the protection is no longer there. My story is complicated, and I need to get an answer. Sir, I don't even know where to start because all I want to do is get out of this situation. I've written so much without an introduction, so let me give you a little insight into my life. My name is Rachel, and I'm a 30-year-old. I'm 30 years old. My husband's name is Ernest and he's also 30 years old. Ernest works as an accountant at a company I cannot really mention, as I said earlier. We've been married for 5 years. I know you all are wonderful, but I don't know why my husband went wrong and why I was tempted to cheat on him. I really do not have the answer to that. It was one of those things that just happened. I thought I could get away with it, for context's sake. I didn't just cheat on my husband once, I did it more than once. I know how stupid that sounds, but I'm just trying to be honest. With all that said, I never actually thought I'd get caught. I never imagined that he would find out the truth, but he did because I was careless and sloppy. I still can't believe that I left the protection in the bin and got caught. It was stupid, but I got carried away and thought I would never get caught. That's just the thing with cheating, you're never safe, even when you think you are. Now I'm so scared of what Ernest is going to do. He might divorce me, take the house, humiliate me, or even make me go bankrupt. We met at a restaurant and got married. It's been 2 years since we've been together, so technically we've known each other for 7 years. I don't want to make excuses for why we didn't work out. I'll just be honest about it, because that might help me figure out how to get out of this marriage without any problems. I'm absolutely sure that Ernest will divorce me. I know there's no way I can avoid that, but I just don't want to deal with his revenge. I'm really worried about the fact that he saw the protection and instead of confronting me about it, he decided to keep quiet. My affair partner's name is Leo and we met almost a year ago. As I said, I'm a housewife, so I don't really have important jobs to attend to. I stay home all day and just take care of the house. I suppose I never actually imagined that I would cheat on my husband. I've always been that kind of housewife who respects her husband. I also come from a decent home, and I just know that my parents will kill me if they find out I cheated on Ernest, and I know I'll never win them over because my parents believe that I'm lucky to have Ernest in my life. He's hardworking, talented, and nice. They also felt like he was the only man for me. I was ready to get married, but he wasn't ready to work. It was my choice not to get a job because I just don't like it. I don't like the idea of working under someone and taking orders from other people. So I told Ernest before we got married that I wasn't ready to work and he shouldn't force me. He didn't have a problem with it, and that surprised me and my family. I thought I'd be able to start a business after the marriage, but it didn't work out that way. I actually thought Nest would lend me money to start the business, but they didn't. I've asked them several times, but they refused to do that for me, so I just decided to stay at home since there was no need for me to go to such lengths. I decided to be a full-time housewife and enjoy my life as a housewife, but being a housewife gets boring with time, so I decided to switch things up and join a book club. I decided to become a full-time housewife and enjoy my life as a housewife, but being a housewife gets boring with time and you get tired of the routine. That's why I decided to switch things up and join a book club. I joined a book club even though this is not something most people expected me to do, but I still did it. I don't like reading that much. I've always loved books, so I decided to join a book club. One of my friends told me it's a great way to socialize and meet people, so I joined the book club. That's how I met Leo. He's also a member of the book club and had been a member for a while before I joined. We didn't know each other at first. I never thought we'd be friends, to be honest. I joined the book club out of boredom and also to shut my friend up and tell her that being in a book club makes no difference to me. But things didn't go how I planned. My friendship with Leo kicked off. I first thought I could stay away from it and just see him as just a friend, but that never happened. I actually started seeing him as more than a friend, and a part of me kept on wishing that we could be more. I never forgot that I was married, but the temptation was just too much. Like I said, I don't want to lie. I'll be frank. I was annoyed with Ernest for turning his back on me over money. I know some people will say I'm being selfish, but I don't care. He knew what I was like before I got married, and he didn't complain when I told him I'd be a broke housewife. I got married to him and I told him exactly who I was and what I was like. I didn't exaggerate or pretend to be someone else. But he is the exact opposite of that. Ernest is really stingy. I saw all this in the way he acted whenever I brought up the topic of money. It really annoyed me, but I never thought about getting a divorce because I felt like there was no way I'd do that. He still provides for the family and allows me to be a housewife, which I really like. I was even willing to overlook the fact that he didn't give me money when I needed it. However, I'm now scared of losing my marriage, even though I imagined what it would be like if we broke up. I think I underrated just how much I would lose in this marriage, to the point that I forgot about it when I started. I had feelings for Leo, and I knew that liking another man apart from my husband was wrong. But my common sense seemed to disappear, and I was left with no choice but to dwell on the thoughts that kept coming into my mind. I know Ernest is going to do something so bad that I will regret it. I think I told you guys that he's not the kind of man to forgive easily. In fact, Ernest is not the kind of man to forgive at all. He just does what he wants and forgets all consequences. What I have done to him and the way I have disrespected him is so shameful that even I am scared of. The result was that he found the protection in the bin. He has no idea how many disgusting things I've done with Leo in our matrimonial home, but I know that it's only a matter of time before he finds out the truth and decides to go off on me. I've done many bad things with Leo, guys. Not even. If I were a single woman, I would act the way I act. I made the decision to switch things up and join the book club. I thought it would be a nice experience to join the book club and socialize. I wanted to use that as an opportunity to let loose and actually do something fun, but everything backfired in the worst way possible. I'm on the verge of getting one of the biggest embarrassments of my life. My husband is going to be really angry with me. I was telling you about the book club and how it changed my life, but not for the better. I've had some naughty or good moments as a result of my involvement in the book club, but none of that experience is worth the kind of pain I had to go through to get there. People have read it. It wasn't easy to get in the book club in the first place. It was almost like Ernest was aware that I ended up cheating on him when I told him I wanted to join a book club. He was actually extremely suspicious. Why? Well, he knew that I wasn't so interested in reading. To be honest, I don't think he's ever seen me read a book since the start of our marriage. So you can see just how weird it was for him. When I told him I wanted to join the book club, it was a bit of a struggle because he wouldn't let me speak. But I didn't want to back down, so I brought up the fact that I'm a responsible adult and an independent woman. I told him I had every right to do what I wanted. He wanted to know why I suddenly wanted to start stressing when I told him before the marriage that I had no interest in working on engaging in other activities. It was a very long argument, and Ernest went as far as telling me just how irritated he was with the way I didn't work and just preferred to. I was determined to do what I had in mind at the start of the book club. I stayed late just to get on his nerves and have him notice that I actually hated the way he called me lazy. I didn't really find the book club as interesting as my friend described. I wasn't really interested in the book club at the time because I was still angry with my husband. Ernest is never one to shout things like that. He ignored me and pretended I wasn't trying at all. I thought my attitude would make him apologize, but he never did. We just carried on as normal. I continued to live my life as normal when I noticed that he wasn't going to do what I wanted. I decided to forget about it too because I was also aware that I was being silly, but I didn't stop leaving the book club late. That's how Leo and I finally started speaking to each other. For some reason, he also. I stopped going early after we finished at the book club. Before I continue, I should mention that the book club wasn't just for older people. It was a fun group that met on Thursdays and all weekend long, except for Sunday. It wasn't a stuffy book club. The book club was a great way for me to get out of the house and have some fun, especially since I was able to escape from my usual housewife duties. My husband was supportive of this, and at some point, Leo also joined us. He's a natural flirt and knew exactly what he was doing. I never let him kiss me, though. I like to think I'm pretty confident, but I guess I'm not. I like to think I'm able to make my own decisions, but I guess I'm not. I like to think I'm able to act like his presence doesn't affect me, but it does. He also started to take note of the way I acted around him. So that's how it all started, guys. That's how we became secret lovers and did naughty things together. Before I go on, I should tell you that Leo is also in a relationship with someone else. He has a girlfriend, or rather a fiancé, who he planned on proposing to before we got together and started seeing each other. I've been to Leo's house a few times since we started seeing each other. When we got close, I stopped going to the book club and started going to see him at his house instead. It wasn't a relationship that just started from being intimate or anything like that. Leo is actually a playboy who took his time to woo me and get me to have feelings for him. I decided to take a step back and see how things would pan out. Surprisingly, things went further than I imagined. Some of my friends who were also at the book club noticed how close I was with him and tried to get me to go out with him, but I actually refused. I just wanted to do things my way. I thought I'd be smart enough not to fall for Leo's antics, but I don't think I was actually smart enough because so far I've done more than I could have imagined. I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like there's a sense of jealousy that comes into a girl when she learns that I think it's fair to say that the guy who has been trying to woo her is seeing another lady. It seems that guys use that jealousy in females to their benefit. That's exactly what Leo did. He knew that I was trying to resist him, so he decided to let me know about his girlfriend and his desire to propose. He was aware that a little competition would be more than enough for me to give in. If he'd made the first move, I'd have given in a heartbeat. He'd never have told me about his girlfriend if he hadn't wanted to put me on the back foot. So I did what any jealous woman would do. I started to feel left out. I felt jealous and like I was losing an admirer, so I decided to give in to him. I also have a crush on him because I'd had feelings for him for a long time before, and I'd been holding it in because I was enjoying the entertainment. I'm not ashamed to say that I almost forgot I was married. I was so carefree with Leo throughout my affair that only my friends who knew I was married understood I wasn't single. We did so much together that they could see, and my relationship with Leo was intense. When we started dating, we were officially dating, and it was pretty intense. We were all over each other. I started going to his house first, and that's where it all began. I always stopped him from coming to my house at the beginning because I was scared of us getting caught. I didn't think things would get so intense. I finally let him come to my house, and that's when things got complicated. If we hadn't got so messy, we could have lasted longer. I hate myself for letting him come to my house. If he hadn't come to my house and made himself at home, my husband would never have found the used protection. Leo always wanted to come and see me. It was like he was running away from his own home. I got so caught up in the relationship that I almost forgot I was a married woman living in my husband's house. It felt like I was living in my own house, free to do anything I liked, but at the end of the day, things were not like that. I was living in my own house, so I was free to do anything I liked, but at the end of the day, things were not like that. I forgot that I was at Ernest's house. On this particular day, Ernest left for work as usual. Almost immediately, Leo came over. He became familiar with Ernest's routine and the time Ernest usually leaves for work at the same time every day, so I didn't complain when I saw Leo. I was happy to finally see my affair partner because it was a Monday and we didn't see each other because Ernest was at home all weekend. Leo and I don't usually sleep together all the time. It's not like we always want to sleep together. I always set boundaries and tell him we can't get intimate all the time, but we did that Monday and that's how we got careless. We slept together in the living room and I was so tired that I forgot to properly dispose of the protection. I don't even know if I was the one who did that. I don't know if it was Leo who got rid of it or if I did. I forgot all about it and got on with my day after Ernest left. But recently, while I was cleaning the living room, I suddenly remembered that I hadn't put the protection away where I usually keep it. I don't usually like to. I always leave the protection in the same place. There's a particular spot where I like to keep it before I get rid of it properly. But I recently realized that I forgot to toss it in the usual place. I had to go back to the place I usually toss it and then I realized that it wasn't there. I spent the whole day checking the house, but then I realized that it wasn't there. I got really anxious because I was very sure that if I didn't toss it, there was a high chance that I didn't keep it properly. The fact that Ernest had been in the living room throughout before he left for work was the only sign I needed to know. I spent the whole day checking the house, but I couldn't find it. I got really anxious because I was sure that if I didn't toss it, there was a high chance that I didn't keep it properly. The fact that Ernest had been in the living room before he left for work was the only sign I needed to know. I got the feeling that something fishy was going on. He didn't even say a word to me. When I tried to confront him, he just left and acted like nothing had happened. What scares me the most is that he's so relaxed and barely concerned, even after everything that has been going on. It just goes to show that Ernest is planning a lot of things. He would literally rather die than stay with a cheating wife. I am 100% sure that he's not going to just let me be. He saw a protection in the bin in our living room. It's a living room that he paid for and owns. It's his house. I know that I disrespected him. I allowed my affair partner into the space, which was a mistake. I should have kept him out. I left evidence of what had occurred for him to see. Any man would get upset. I know that Ernest is not an exception. I spent the whole day worrying about what to do. It's been eating me up. I decided to come here for advice. I'd love to hear your advice or just anything at all. I don't want to die in silence and I definitely don't want to keep what's been bothering me to myself. That's why I came here, just to ask you all to help me. What am I going to do about this very awkward situation I have found myself in? Am I to pretend like I don't know what to do? I can't just tell Ernest that nothing happened. He's too smart. He picked up on that protection, and I bet my life it was obvious. I know gaslighting isn't the right option, but I also know that. I know that telling the truth isn't going to help me in the long run. How can I approach my husband and ask him if he saw the protection I left in the bin? How will that sound to him? Where will this matter be brought up? I don't want to be seen as the one at fault. How will I look him in the eye? I'll have to tell him I cheated. It's not even a matter of telling the truth anymore because he already knows and he saw the evidence himself. It's now a matter of me not lying anymore and coming clean, but that will just be me stabbing myself in the back because I'll just reveal more reasons for him never to forgive me. I don't think I regret my current situation as much as anything, and I just hope you guys can help me update. I pray Ernest karma catches up with him because he's very wicked. I'm now divorced with no spousal support or alimony, and I'm also 100% broke and single. All of these punishments are for I know many of you have been keen to hear how my marriage ended. I've been trying to keep you updated, but it's been a difficult time for me, so I've decided to take a break to reflect. I'm here to share more bad news. I've got some news that I think you'll find surprising. I've realized that cheating is never the right way to do things. I don't think there's ever a better way to explain things, but I'll just let you know that I've gone through a lot in the past few months to realize what a mess I've been. You still remember me, right? I'm the lady. As a result of her carelessness, she was found guilty. I just think it's okay to introduce myself before going on. When I made this post and asked you all to advise me, many of you bashed me rather than actually helping me, like I asked. I still found a way to survive, even though it was extremely hard to navigate. When Ernest came back home on the very day I made the post, I was really stressed. I didn't know what to do. My Reddit post didn't get much engagement at first, so it was hard for me to find my way. I decided to take the easy way out and I left out all the stress. I didn't speak to Ernest that night. I thought I would be able to gather my strength to talk to him the next day, but I also couldn't speak to him the next day. These things kept on occurring until 1 week later. Instead of me being the one to approach my husband, he was the one that approached me. He did something that I'll never forget in this life or the next. You might think I'm exaggerating, but I don't care. I cheated on him, but is that enough reason for him to hurt me so much? Couldn't he just cheat back and let sleeping dogs lie? So Ernest and I didn't speak for a full week? I tried to start up a conversation, but he completely ignored me. I just decided to let him be because I knew that he already found out I cheated on him. I also told you that I joined a book club and that's how I met Leo. But Ernest was able to kick the both of us out of the book club as a result of his vicious ways. He didn't kick us out literally, I tried to start a conversation but he completely ignored me. I just decided to let him be because I knew that he already found out I cheated on him. I told you all about how I joined a book club and that's how I met Leo, but Ernest was able to kick both of us out of the book club. He didn't kick us out literally, We were so embarrassed that we didn't have the courage to show our faces. I should mention that I'm no longer with Leo. I just couldn't stay with him after I found out that he's actually a playboy and an extremely ungrateful person. After everything I sacrificed to be with him, he cheated on his wife. He got scared and left. Ernest was nowhere to be seen when I really needed him. He took his time to make me pay. I don't even know how he found the time to go to the book club and tell them I was married. As I said before, only my closest friends at the book club knew for years. Most of the members thought I was single, but I was actually married. I don't know why Ernest decided to embarrass me at the book club, but he did. He humiliated me in front of everyone. He did it using the girl Leo had been dating before we met Leo's girlfriend. She actually joined the book club weeks after I did. I didn't know she was dating Leo back then because Leo and I hadn't started talking yet. I never liked her and she never liked me, but it was never obvious that she was with Leo before I got with him. I ended up thinking Leo just lied about having a girlfriend just to get me to I gave in faster, so I didn't think about the fact that she was okay with seeing me instead of her boyfriend. Well, this girl actually held a grudge and hated me so much that when Ernest came to humiliate me at the book club, she joined in and brought up lies about how I stole her boyfriend from her and how I was manipulating Leo. It was like something out of a movie, but it actually happened to me in real life. I went to the book club at the weekend, unaware that almost all the members now saw me as a disgusting woman. I was so surprised, but it's a book club, not an elementary school. I can't go there and expect to be kicked out just because I found out that I'd been unfaithful to my husband. Everyone acted as if nothing had happened, but I could hear them whispering and pointing at me. Some of them even shook their heads in disapproval when they looked at me. It was pretty obvious that the truth was out. What made me even more humiliated was that my affair partner wasn't at the book club that day. I know, it's hard to believe. Leo practically ran away from the embarrassment. He was aware that my husband knew of the truth, so he decided to run away at first. I couldn't believe that he would do that to me. I made up a lot of excuses in my head. I felt like he was sick and just didn't want to come by. At that time, there was already a crisis between me and Ernest because we weren't speaking at all. He locked the bedroom door anytime I tried to get in. That's why I decided to go to the book club that day because I wanted to escape the drama. I'm a housewife with no job, so I couldn't run anywhere. I couldn't even go and speak to my parents because I knew they would give me a hard time, so I was on my own. Leo's rejection and abandonment weren't enough. I went home that day only to find my things outside the house with my parents sitting on the front porch. I was genuinely scared of how things had started to go. Just picture this, you're leaving a scene that's pretty embarrassing, and then you come home to find your parents sitting outside with your clothes on display. I felt like I wanted to fall right into a hole in the ground, but there wasn't one for me to fall into. My mother was the first to break the uncomfortable silence. She walked right up to me and slapped me in the face. I was so shocked by the look of embarrassment in her eyes that I started crying straight away. You know that feeling of a guilty conscience? Well, that's exactly what I felt at that moment, so I was left with nothing. I didn't have any other choice but to cry. I wasn't a fool and I already knew why they were standing there. I understood that I had cheated, but a slap was just too much after accusing me of being the worst embarrassment that had ever happened to her. They threw the divorce papers in my face. Ernest had actually drafted the divorce papers. By that time, I had already signed the divorce papers and given them to my parents to give to me. I tried to talk to Ernest, but he just called me a fool for thinking he had left me in the house after finding the pill because he had forgiven me. No, he actually wanted to. He told my parents everything, even how he found the contraceptive in the bin and how I suddenly started going to the book club and coming back late. Can you believe he drafted the divorce papers just a week after finding out I was cheating on him? That's true. He filed for divorce before even seeing the contraceptive in the bin. I thought that was all Ernest could do to me until he decided to go big. I never actually knew what Leo did or where he worked, but after I was kicked out of the house and left broke, I thought it would be a good idea to stay with Leo, but the guy told me he was scared of my husband and didn't want any trouble. The same guy who sneaked into my house without fear was suddenly scared of getting into trouble. My parents wouldn't let me stay at home, and most of my friends were either broke, married, or just didn't want to get involved in the drama. That's because most of my friends who aren't in the book club are our mutual friends. None of them helped me because I'm broke, and they don't want to trade a rich friend for I was a broke housewife in the middle of getting a divorce when one of Ernest's friends finally decided to lend me money after I begged and cried. Ernest found out and followed his friend to collect the money from me. He gave me $300 cash, which I told him I needed for food. I was hungry and barely getting by. I had an apartment I was staying at, but I didn't have food while I was at the grocery store and picked up everything I needed. Ernest came with his friend, and Ernest took the money out of my hand. I was left embarrassed at the grocery store and had to return. I picked up these items, but there are many more. The divorce was the final straw. Ernest's behavior and lack of empathy broke me. I was left with nothing after 5 years of marriage. I was hoping for spousal support or alimony, but I was left with nothing but an old house. The present house we live in is no longer in Ernest's name. I was shocked to find out that he put the house in someone else's name. I'd hoped to get the house, but it didn't work out. He planned all of this for a very long time. He knew exactly what he was doing. That's why he wouldn't act immediately. He outsmarted me and made me look foolish right in front of my face. Getting back up from this kind of situation is never easy. It takes a lot of work and patience to get over what I'm currently going through. I've tried to stay positive, but I can't get over the fact that Ernest was so cruel.